Okay, here is your sourdough starter tutorial. I have all my stuff out. So my scale, I do in grams. A little mixing bowl, it doesn't matter what kind of bowl. A clean jar for the starter that I'm about to mix up. Sticky Vicky. A little bit of water. And for this particular venture, I have an extra little jar, which I will explain in a moment. So this is Sticky Vicky. She's been sitting in the fridge for like 2 weeks. I don't think I baked last week. There's some dried crust that came off. So, I think I was trying to explain to you that mine does not look super appetizing. So that's hooch on the top, and it looks kind of gray and gross. But that's just because she has been resting in the fridge. So, but it works just fine. Some people say pour the hooch off. Some people say leave it. I found it truly really does not matter at all. So I just poured it off just so I don't have extra liquid in this, but it doesn't really matter. So the most important thing for you to learn about feeding a starter is ratios. You can get into lots of different varieties of ratios. I would just keep it simple at the beginning, and this is what I do most of the time still, which is 1 to 1 to 1, starter, flour, which I forgot I do have here, my spelt flour, starter, flour, water. So if you have 50 grams of starter that you want to feed, then you would do 50 grams of water, 50 grams of flour. Then it doesn't matter how much you do, it just depends on how much you're baking. So I want to bake tomorrow at least 2 loaves. So I probably need to start out with 100 grams of starter, I think. I always end up doing a little bit more because I'm nervous about running out. It's never happened. But, so maybe I'll do 115 for good luck. So I just take my jar and I pour my starter into my bowl. Okay, I ended with 120. Now, I used 120. There's a good amount left over in here. I usually try to only keep as much as I will feed in my fridge, which means I stored too much the last time. But that takes serious consistency to know how much you're gonna use every time. So all I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna throw, this is what, when you read recipes and stuff, this is what they would call discard. I'm gonna put my discard in a little jar, and then you can keep this little jar in your fridge and you can make discard recipes with it, which is basically any recipe that you don't need something to rise. So I've seen people who, well, actually I've put this in banana bread before, and then I use baking soda for the rise. It's just not going to act like sourdough and get everything to lift up. But if I was smart, probably this amount is what I should be keeping in my fridge, because I personally don't use discard a lot. I'm just not that good of a planner. Okay, so I have 120. I'm gonna zero out my scale and do 120 grams of water. Hmm. 130, so now you get to see me do something wrong and fix it. So I poured too much water in. I'm just gonna take a little cup or measuring cup, and I'm just gonna scoop some of the water out. It's not a big deal. I do this probably most of the time. And the order in which you add the ingredients does not matter. I personally, though, prefer to do starter and water and mix it like this. That way the starter and the water is kind of evenly incorporated. And then you do your flour. So like I said, this is spelt. I'm gonna switch back to whole wheat here shortly, just because it's a little bit cheaper with my expenses. I personally never had luck using regular white bread dough. I don't know why. It just would never rise for me. So that's why I switched. And then you mix it all up. I'll try and do this quickly so I can show you what the consistency is. But that's pretty much it. And then once it's all incorporated, I put it in a clean jar, which I have here. Some people will mix their starter up just like in this jar. I only don't do that because then I feel like it gets starter all the way along the sides. Kind of like this has it along the sides. It's not quite as bad, but the reason why I try to avoid that, and this is an important tidbit that not a lot of people know, but you should know, is that this is really, really bad to pour down your drain. It will destroy your plumbing, because I guess people say it turns into like concrete. So I mix it all up. This is the consistency. Mine's like kind of thick because of the type of flour that I use, but I think that's why it rises well, just personally. So anyways, I try to scrape off the sides as best I can. And if I have any big globs, I wipe it out with a paper towel. And then something like this is pretty well empty, but that stuff on the sides is not gonna scrape down. I'm gonna soak it in my sink in warm water and really, really dilute it. And then sometimes I'd like pour it outside. Sometimes I pour it down the drain because I feel like, well, it's diluted, but you do want to be careful about that. I have actually heard of real people, not just online, who have had to get all their plumbing redone because of sourdough, which would be really distressing. So anyway, here it is. You want to make sure that the jar that you choose is at least twice as big as the amount of starter you put in there. So here it is. I'm going to keep mine just on the counter. Some people, it will rise faster if you put it somewhere very warm, but I found that you can train it to respond well in a not so warm place. So I want mine to be kind of like hardy, so I just keep it on the counter. And I'm gonna wait. It'll double in size probably in like 10 hours. I'm not gonna bake then. I'm gonna wait until tomorrow morning. I've found that it's not the end of the world if it's risen all the way and then dropped a little bit. But that's your sticky bicky tutorial. Oh, and maybe this will be what I give to you. I actually forgot I need to do that. So that might be yours.